Yeah, so we have a panel, a very exciting panel for you guys. Oh, welcome as well, Claire. How are you today? It's funny, actually, we met in ETH Belgrade, 2 years ago? Do you remember? Yes. First of all, how many marketers have we got in the crowd today? Wow, we've got a lot of marketers. We've got 4 on stage. I feel like 4 years ago, there was never this many marketers in the room, was there? Not at a crypto event, anyway. But I hope everyone's doing very well today. Please, I want to first get a round of intros. So I'll start with you. Please, there we go.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Brett, I lead marketing for Flipside. Flipside is an intelligence-driven growth platform that basically helps protocols and chains deliver sustainable growth.
I'm Claire Kart. I'm the CMO at Aztec. I've been in crypto for, oh my gosh, I think this is my 7th year. And yeah, just really excited to be here. Traditionally have worked in like deep tech, and so not really on the consumer side of crypto.
Hi, I'm Krystyna. I'm the CMO of Cookie3 and core contributor to CookieDAO. We're basically a data layer with various applications for traders and marketers.
There you go. So you've got all the intros under the belt. And then really we've got a really exciting one for you today because we hope to really drop some alpha on some of the upcoming trends when it comes to growth marketing. So we're going to jump straight in today. What I would like to ask you first of all, Brett, if you could open them first. Let's set the stage here. How does marketing a layer 1 or layer 2 differ from, say, marketing a DeFi dApp?
I feel like Claire would be the best person to answer that question. But just from what we observe working with chains and protocols, I think the user base, the constituency of who you care about is the biggest difference, right? I think with a layer 1 or layer 2, you care about a lot of different personas, and their motivations and behaviors are going to be different as well. Whereas with a dApp or specific protocol, I think the user base is much more specific and focused. And so understanding your users, understanding your user base is probably the biggest difference there.
You're right. That was perfect. Yeah, we're in the process of taking Aztec to market now. Aztec is an L2 on Ethereum. And, my funnels, there are many, and they're not like with slight tweaks, right? It's like there's a funnel for node operators who are securing like the network, and then there's a funnel for developers. Of course, we will, do all the things, and so we also need to engage the community broadly, retail, those types of things. So it's just really like having very distinct user profiles, very distinct user onboardings, and still doing it all with a fairly small team.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to repeat what you guys said, so I think I'm going to say, in my opinion, like marketing for a dApp is more fun because because people go to dApps not only for utility but also for fun. Whether for layer 1s and layer 2s, it is after all about the infrastructure, about the speed, about targeting developers. So it has to be much more product-driven marketing than like fun marketing for a dApp that people go and just interact with because it's like cute characters or like fun token or whatever.
I think you guys are totally right. And by the way, I don't want you agreeing with each other all day. I want you disagreeing as well.
Don't worry, we will.
Yeah, we're getting there, I'm sure. Speaking about that, of course, there's so many new platforms now to really get a lot of growth from, the likes of Zeely. I'm talking about some of the Quest and Bounty platforms that are around there. Now, to think that they all stem from, the classic bug bounties for developers. But how do you think that landscape is shifting when it comes to sort of the rise of these incentive-based reward platforms? I feel bad for you because you're sitting next to me, but you're going to have to go first, Brett.
No, I have a strong opinion about that because I think a lot of these questing platforms have kind of had their heyday, and people are realizing the sustained value is not there. And people are realizing that right now. You run these quests, people follow your Twitter, great, but like actual user activity on chain doesn't happen. And so I think people are asking about what are these kind of sustained growth initiatives that move past just pure questing, right? And so, we have an opinion at Flipside about that. We have our own journeys platform, but the types of activity that we incentivize on there is based on insights that create long-term on-chain behavior. And so I think you'll see a big push towards more kind of long-term sustainable incentive mechanisms.
Yeah, I would agree. I think so when I first entered crypto professionally, I was coming from like startup tech marketing in Silicon Valley, and I had, taken products to market, owned a P&L, and I had kind of a career in marketing before crypto. And, we're marketers, right? So it's like, what's your top of funnel? What's your mid funnel? What's your bottom of funnel? What's your conversion point? And then you come to crypto and it's like, oh, it's just about the top of the funnel. Okay, like, I guess we'll just keep putting more things into the top. Like, and obviously there are some projects who have done mid and bottom, or maybe by luck, they've gotten product market fit. But like, we're still at a very early stage, I think, for doing like what I would consider like full funnel performant marketing. It is starting to shift. I think there's a lot of other attendant issues, right? Of just like, it's hard to convert when you don't have product market fit. So like the industry needs to mature to where we have, viable products, right? That you could convert a user into. And then I think like the other big challenge, I don't know, I'm living this right now, is just like, I like to say bots are people too, right? Like there's some interesting things that bots can do, and like actually I think excluding them from your marketing and excluding them from your channels like writ large is a mistake. But it's very, very hard now to figure out, like, is this user a user? Are they a bot? Like, what is going on here, right? It's super, super hard. So we've been thinking about like kind of like identity solutions that we can use that are built on our stack, where, if you don't have essentially a valid passport, you might not get past certain kind of controls to like do certain things with our product or interact in certain ways. And so at least we know that, you are a person tied to a passport. And so those are all things that we're thinking about to kind of like get out of this like bot questing, just top level numbers narrative, which I'm tired of.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna say like quest platforms are something that makes me really sad, because they could have gone well, but I feel it's not on the audience, it's a lot on the projects that were launching quests, why they didn't go well. Because imagine like being incentivized to try a product and decide if you like it, and actually like do something on chain, try it out, play it out, get rewarded for it. If you like it, stick with it, become customer, like go down the funnel. If you don't like it, okay, move to something else. And I'm sorry to anyone here that launched these campaigns when Galaxy and Zeely were really trending. Getting people to just follow you and do nothing else, or just like your tweet or retweet, wasn't really bringing them to your product, wasn't letting them try this. So that was focusing on this like top funnel attention level. And then people who would be there and would be using these platforms to try the products, they decided, well, I don't want to be just a farmer following stuff on Twitter. So they left these platforms, and the audience left on these platforms is not the audience you want to attract to your project. So essentially they could have gone well, but it's a lot on the projects who are launching these campaigns that these platforms didn't go well.
I wanted to go back to the point you were making about bots, Claire, because I do think bots are here to stay with AI agents and et cetera, if not even more so. I think what's important is understanding what the bots are actually doing. Because if you have a bunch of new bots that are interacting with your protocol, like they're most likely there to farm your protocol. And so if there are bots that have history of behavior that are doing meaningful things, then maybe it's a human on the other side leveraging bots for the efficiency gains that they get from it. So I think it's really important to understand the behavior of the bots themselves, even if they're going to be around on chain.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is still such undefined territory, right? It's just like figuring out the bots from the not bots, and then figuring out like, who are these bots? Can we say who are these bots?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm with you. It's not all bad, but it's like, I think we need more intelligence to understand how to treat, and maybe this will become a completely different like user segment, which would be super interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I think there definitely needs to be more done to sort of sift out and coming to, of course, airdrop farmers that are using the likes of Zeely and Galaxy just to come in and benefit from the airdrop and then dump the token. It's not really going to benefit the platform in the long run, is it? So I think there definitely needs to be more done on that front side to really support the wave, because at the end of the day, we just need people coming in and using those products and services. So we're going to jump.
Sorry, can I add something to this? That's maybe if they really required you to have some sort of technical skill or like on-chain skill, because I am like 80% sure a lot of these people have never been on-chain. Actually, they just click. But maybe even requiring people to go on-chain and do something would have eliminated a lot of these farmers, because they wouldn't want to participate.
Yeah, 100%.
I think this is a perfect time, and you guys have seen the questions before, but we're about InfoFi, so we're going to jump a little bit. Who in the audience uses Kato or Cookie Snaps? Anyone up there? Okay, there we go. We got a couple of users, so we're going to jump into this for a little bit. So the term InfoFi is gaining traction with platforms like Kato and, of course, Cookie Snaps leading the way. Is this a new name for affiliate marketing, or is it fundamentally new, sustainable Web3 growth channel? I'll let you jump in straight away.
I think Krystyna gets to take this first.
Yeah, and I'll be listening to your answers. You know, there is only one right answer. I'd say it's an evolution of the questing campaigns. It's not ideal. You know, we work with our cookie algorithm every single day, and it's a race between the algorithm and the farmers. We keep putting new measures to not allow people to farm. So measures like content quality, content length, how often are you posting about the project that is having a campaign versus like the normal amount you post about one project in a given time frame. Then we've seen people putting up posts about like an unrelated topic or like a politics topic and then tag the project at the bottom because they knew like this post is going to get a lot of engagement, not because of the project reasons. So obviously I'm not going to say it's bad as quests. I'd say it is working. Like we've tested our mindshare algorithm and it works. And I feel as a marketing tool, it is a great way to get exposure and get mindshare because a lot of people are looking at both Cookie and Kaito as like what projects have big mindshare, and then this incentivizes them to go and engage more. But a Snaps campaign cannot be the only thing you do. And for example, for us, we have a big pipeline of projects that want to launch Snaps campaign, and we say no to a lot of them because we want to look at the funnel, we want to look at the product, we want to look at a marketing strategy before we say yes to someone launching a Snaps campaign, because we don't want someone just, you know, boosting their mindshare and they having nothing to offer and dump. So, well, to all marketers here who want to launch the Snaps campaign, come with a solid marketing plan before you ask us to onboard you.
What I'll add to that is I think InfoFi has made affiliate marketing, like the market itself, more efficient, and that is a good thing. Having efficient markets is a good thing. What I don't like about it is that it seems to be capturing all of the mind share, and it takes away from true value creation. Like I point to, if you go see Laudio's headline recently, they had an IAO, et cetera. Attention is all you need, is literally what they say on their front page. I know it's a pun on like a quote, but I really disagree with that statement. It cannot be attention is all you need. Attention is what you need. It's something you need, but you also need value, and you also need users, and you also need on-chain behavior and activity. And so I think like if we only skew towards pure attention gathering, I think that's bad. I think we need to balance it out with what happens after that attention is gained.
Yeah, for me, it's like anything else. It's a tool. Like, I guess I see most of these things as just extremely, almost boringly neutral, you know, where I'm like, okay, it's a tool. It does this. It does that. Maybe it could do this, you know, if we configured it a certain way. I think, like, back to kind of my comment around full funnel marketing, like, I think there is a lack of training and skills within crypto marketers. This is not a criticism of anyone in the audience, by the way. I just think like the industry is so new, and so it's hard to attract marketers from other industries who have like this full funnel. Maybe they've owned a P&L. Like that's really hard. And so I hope as our discipline grows and as there are more events like this where we get to come together and talk about things, we will just have the skills to see these things as like one tool in the funnel, in the stack, where does it fit in? And then like to Krystyna's point, you know, how do I connect all the dots, right? Now I have this great attention, so how am I converting people into, you know, trial and, you know, retention and like all of those things. So I think like to shout out to the folks who organize this and the sponsors, like getting together like this and being able to speak about these things and just become better marketing professionals in our industry, I think is what's gonna turn the tide from us being so like polarizing about like, oh my God, the new meta is this, everyone has to do that, or like, oh my gosh, that's such an old meta. It's like, they're just tools.
Yeah, and I think as well in emerging markets like crypto, I think the landscape's so rapidly changing that it's very, very difficult, and you're constantly having to adapt and pivot and, change those campaigns where you can. So I still remember some of your funnels actually from Belgrade. You had them up on screen. So let's jump in. Let's talk about VCs and founders' expectations right now. So all of you know that VCs and founders are focusing on, in terms of the growth metrics, they care, but what do you think over the last year has changed most within the sort of VC landscape and access to funds?
One thing I'll say on that is I feel like VCs in general, this might be controversial, have a very short-term mindset in crypto. I think the liquidity events happen very quickly. TGE happens very quickly, typically too early in the project lifecycle. And it creates a negative pressure for builders to feed into hype, because the only way you can have a successful TGE when you don't have the time to build a mature product is through hype. And so Flipside is a non-token project. We're a tool, and we've heard VCs give us feedback that like if you were a token project, we would invest in you more. But guess what happens if you're a token project? They're going to dump the token the day after you unlock. And so like I think there's negative pressure and short-term thinking that I'm hoping changes over the course, but I'm not sure if others have similar opinions.
I think I'd agree and disagree. Like there's definitely very few selective angels, BCs who are like very long-termist, like almost to where it's like, oh, whoa, really? Like you're okay with that? Like that's going to take a really long time to build. So there are some folks I think who are like, it's really polarizing, right? It's like, I do think there's a lot of short-term thinking, and then there's almost the people who are like thinking about a 10-year time horizon, a 20-year time horizon. And then like there's kind of not much in the middle, which we probably need more people like right in the middle. And like as we approach like network liveness and have builders building on us, like we're thinking about this, right? Because we want our builders to kind of get off the grant cycle and go be able to raise funds and incorporate their company and like start building towards what they want to build. And yeah, in these conversations, I think always trying to get with those long-termist folks, but they're just very few and far between. And I think we've been lucky to be backed by them. And so, I mean, Aztec has been building for 8 years, right? So I'm kind of like living, breathing proof of there are long-termist ones, but they're very few.
Yeah, I feel, as a founder and a marketer, you get a lot of pressure from VCs to build a big following. And then very often you think it's just numbers. And then you come back to a VC and you say, I've built the numbers. And they go like, well, the market still hasn't like heard about you. So a good VC will really like motivate and prompt you to actually build something that people are going to recognize, and not only farmers, but people who are potential users of your product. And obviously TGE is a busy time and is when you have all eyes on you, but this is also the time where you have like the larger selling pressure, and attention is not always like able to uphold it. So having a product ready and a utility for the token at TGE is really important. But to anyone who doesn't have it or has launched, I feel Cookie is a great example, and maybe I'm going to throw myself under the rock here, but Cookie had its TGE a year ago. The token didn't really have much utility, and we, together with the Cookie DAO, have been building for around 6 months after TGE to give the token utility in Cookie Fun. And then it worked, and then we've seen the upward trend. So if you launched and you still have funding and you believe in what you do and you feel like, oh, maybe the utility of the token wasn't really thought through, go back, even if your communication will be minimal, that you're working on something, and then just like revive. It's possible. And then when you revive, you're having less selling pressure because a lot of weak hands, they've already like minimized the loss. So it's easier at that point.
I'm impressed that you revived, and a lot of people will just restart, But no, I think that's some valid points there, and I think what we would probably jump into as well, we want to try and get through the questions because we will have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end. But I want to jump into channels. Now, we talk about utilizing Web 2 channels in terms of social media channels, but really what I would like to get from you guys is where do you think in the Web 2 space currently are channels and platforms we can use, and then also combine with Web 3 emerging SocialFi platforms as well. So we'll talk about both of them.
Okay, I'm at an offsite right now for Aztec, so like I'm just coming out of this because we did this huge like data deep dive on like our marketing. I don't know if this is like a right answer, but we're just seeing really explosive growth coming from ChatGPT volume into our docs. And so like we're just really trying to figure out, okay, how do we make our docs like easier for ChatGPT to sort of like crawl, navigate, recommend? Because yeah, it's a really growing channel for us. And like we have a lot of channels, we're building new ones. Some of them are like, I wouldn't say stagnant, but they're not growing as much as I'd like. ChatGPT is like this. So I'm like, what can I do to get in on that? That's where my head's at right now.
I think, Claire, so in my opinion, like, I'm going to use what you just said as an example to make a point, but it's all about asking yourself first, like, where does my target audience look for information?
100%.
And for you, it's ChatGPT. They're asking ChatGPT, and that's why GPT SEO is super important for you. Maybe if you have a more like retail facing project that's not on Twitter, maybe that's going to be TikTok for them. Maybe it's going to be YouTube. Maybe you have a very degen audience. It's going to be Twitter. It's probably going to be Farcaster. It's probably going to be Reddit. So I think before you go like, okay, this project is saying they're doing TikTok. Okay, Aztec is saying they're doing ChatGPT. So this is what I need to focus on. Try to research where is your audience looking for information and focus on these channels.
Nothing to add, spot on.
Well, we'll put it this way. We're actually going to go straight into the next question because it's also related. So I'll put this one to you, Brett. So what's the most surprising yet high impact way you're seeing AI being leveraged in crypto markets this year, and especially in driving authentic engagement or community trust beyond content and image, obviously, generation?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, and AI is developing so quickly. A month ago, MCP wasn't a thing. You weren't able to expand and extend Claude and ChatGPT. Once that was introduced, game changer. And so I think like everybody's front end is going to be some kind of LLM in the future. It is how people are interacting with information. It is amazing what you can do with that tool. And so I think like it's going to change everything. Like I think, thinking about how you optimize for AI channels is really going to be really critical. Figuring out how you can leverage it for things like, we've built an MCP product for doing on-chain research and understanding, patterns and being able to generate reports and dashboards and like create content, et cetera, that's tied to that on-chain analyses. The context is all there as well. They have access to news articles, so you can start to do analyses like when this news article was published, what happened on-chain behavior right afterwards. And that's like the power of that is insane. And so I feel like we're just scratching the surface right now of what impact AI will have. And I think it's going back to Danny's first talk of the day, like everybody should be looking at how to use AI to influence their jobs today. Like if not, you're going to be left behind.
I think like something more tangible, a lot of people in crypto use AI for like participating in community, right? Like for creating memes and fan art and all of that stuff. So this might seem like maybe kind of obvious, but something that we've had success with and something that I'm working on right now is instead of just sort of like, we're basically creating like a brand asset pack for our community to use with AI. So we're inviting people into our brand. I've been developing a new brand for Aztec. It's rolling out in like the next few weeks. So it's not our current brand, which doesn't leave a lot of room for exploration. But it's really inviting people in this really intentional way where we're like giving our color codes and we're giving all these assets. We're giving highly engineered prompts as starting points and saying, okay, now go play with this and go have fun and let's see what you do. So I think there's like a lot of really technical ways to use AI in your stack. There's also a lot of ways to just like make the AI engagement that you're already seeing in your community just better, easier, more fun, more friendly. And I'm surprised, honestly, that I haven't seen more projects doing that. So this is my like CTA to all of you. Please go do that. Like do everything you can to help your community use the tools that they want to use.
So just real quick to piggyback off of that, specifically for marketing, using AI as a brand, as a persona that you can then get feedback off of on content is phenomenal. So when you think about like copy editing and stuff like that, building a persona into Claude and using that as like a mirror to kind of get feedback on content is a great use case. I use it on a daily basis when writing copy and stuff like that.
Also asking GPT, like, how would you understand this, especially for like a really long text? Because you, as the author of the text, like you have the entire thought process behind what you've written, and the person reading it might not. So asking GPT, what do you understand? What are emotions that, even though GPT doesn't have emotions, but it can understand what people will feel reading something? What are emotions that you feel after reading this text? How do you feel about XYZ after reading this text is really useful. And I think you both talked about like two great users of GPT in marketing. So one is sort of like on the backside. So like you said about using data. What I do, I often pull user lists from Cookie3 Analytics, and then correlating or like figuring out which users are on both lists and stuff in Excel would take me so much time. I just upload them to Claude, and then I get a ready document with a user list that I need. Work that would have probably taken me 3-4 hours is done in 20 minutes. And then on the community side, so on like the user-facing side, and I love what you said, and we've done it as well. So as the community to keep generating like AI pictures, maybe around a topic or something happening, people get equally, like retail and communities, they get equally excited about AI as we do. And then sharing prompts and being like, this is so sick, what prompt did you use? Okay, I tried it as well. And it creates like these cool conversations and actual bonds between community members.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think it's really going to actually excel the crypto and blockchain space even further when you think about it. And for example, who in the room actually uses AI on a daily basis? Of course, everybody. Yeah, I mean, if you didn't, get out. No. All the jokes aside, we're going to get real for a moment because everyone talks about their wins, everyone talks about the success, but let's talk about some of the things that don't work. And as marketers, let's be honest, a lot of things don't work. So maybe something in a campaign you've run in the past and the lessons you've learned from it, if it didn't work.
Can I like share something that's maybe like too personal?
Go for it.
This isn't about a campaign. I think like, so I'm coming up on my year at Aztec, and I think, you know, I've spent some of my career as a marketer being like, okay, well, I'm a marketer and I'm good at this and the engineers are good at that. And so like, everybody leave me alone. Okay. Yeah. I sort of still think that, but they have so much to contribute because they are sort of, in many ways, if you're doing developer marketing, your target demographic. And they've been at the company like probably longer than you because marketers get brought in like later. It's so important to get their buy-in. So I guess I'll just say quickly, if you're working with really like a deep tech team, like yes, they should trust you, and you know, but you do sort of have to earn that trust. And so I'd say anything that you can go in and help them understand what marketing is. They're mostly pretty curious, but they've heard a lot of weird things that sort of put them on edge. So try to go in and make friends. And I think like I've been sitting with what have I learned in the last year? And I think that's the biggest thing I've learned. And I've been doing deep tech marketing for like 10 years. Like I should have learned this sooner, but it really hit me this year.
I think one thing that I'll say is knowing your audience sometimes is harder, or sticking to knowing your audience is harder. My last project was a project called Obel. Very deep distributed validators on Ethereum. But being in the ethos, we wanted to market to everybody because we wanted to be a project that people were talking about. Attention, attention is everything, right? And it just didn't work because the general public don't care about what's happening at the validator level. And so being true to yourself, being true to your project, and being okay the fact that you don't have 100,000 followers because you're not a project that needs 100,000 followers, I think is a learning. And I think it's hard to do that because you want to be like everybody else. You want to be the talked about person in the room, and sometimes it doesn't make sense for your project, and that's okay. Like
which room do you want people to talk about you in?
Exactly.
I'm going to talk about the actual mistake that I did and something that is regarding an airdrop, something that's on my mind a lot lately because, Cookie Snaps is doing airdrops now with a lot of projects, so I'm advising them, and I keep repeating do not make this mistake, as I did, is you always get some farmers in the airdrop, and there are tools and ways to then eliminate them from the airdrop, and these people are going to be very unhappy if your final airdrop leaderboard does not reflect the airdrop distribution because you excluded a lot of farmers that were top of the leaderboard. So my tip and something that I learned is try to get these anti-farming tools earlier on and run them a couple of times so the leaderboard is readjusting and people sort of get used to the idea if you farm, you might be temporarily at the top of the leaderboard, but you're going to be taken off it. And then no matter what you do, have your final leaderboard and the airdrop has to reflect your final leaderboard. It cannot be that the leaderboard looks one way and then you distribute the airdrop to other people because half of the ones on the main leaderboard were not eligible.
Right. I mean, anything to add to that?
No, it's a great point. I think looking at when you're coming up with points programs, I think that's the time actually to start looking at distribution already.
Oh, definitely. Now we have 30 seconds left. I did promise a question from the crowd, but I do have one more question. So if the crowd does not have a question, does anybody in the audience, perhaps you're building a product right now, you need some advice from some of the marketers on stage, would anyone like to ask a question? Okay, we've got one. There we go.
So one thing I didn't hear about you, but I would love to hear your feedback about, your opinion about, is KOL marketing. Because lately I've been working in digital marketing agency for crypto projects, and lately KOLs are only killing your project, what we've noticed. And they're bringing these farmers actually who are hunting airdrops. So what is your take on KOL marketing?
So I think we need a reputation system for KOLs. I think today, the way that it's hard to know who are good KOLs and, to your point, the ones that have a lot of influence but are perhaps bringing the wrong crowd to your. And so I think this is connected to the earlier discussion about Infofy and Kaido and Cookie and et cetera. Is like, I recently ran into this project called Ethos that is coming up with a reputation system for KOLs that I think has promises. But I think KOLs have an important role to play. For a lot of people, that is how they get information in the space. But it's really important to create a reputation system, I think, so that KOLs can prove that they're high quality ones versus trying to attract farmers. That's my take.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
If I can add something to this, because I've worked with KOLs quite a bit, but first to your point that we need a system of scoring KOLs, we do have this on Cookie 3 KOL Intelligence. So a little bit of self-shill, but go try it out. You have like a bot score, you have like a content quality score there. But I've done and tested both approaches. So like go to an agency that gives you a list of 150 or like 200 KOLs and they say, these are the best KOLs you'll get wherever, just give me the money. These are the ones that are likely going to kill your project. But other than this, find sort of like your benchmark KOLs, people that you would love to work with, then go to a well-respected agency and say, these are the people I want to work with because A, B, C, and D. This is how I want to work with them. If they are out of my reach, can you propose alternatives to me? And onboard 5 KOLs for, 5 or a 6-month campaign. So they really become sort of your maxi. So they really understand your project and use your product. And their communities will onboard in a more organic way rather than a shilly way. So quantity over quality.
All I'll add is like, I love to look for KOLs where I'm like maybe their second or third project they've ever worked with. They're micro and they're not green. They've done it a couple times. They sort of get what's required and, they have their invoice set up and like, they've got a little bit of a setup, but they're still really more acting from a place of like, I was doing this organically. Now they're trying to monetize it. They're working really hard to deliver because they're really excited about what they're doing. They're not like, okay, I'm just pumping out these posts, right? So they're harder to find, but I usually try to look for people who are like at the beginning of their KOL journey, coming off of really strong organic.
Oh, sorry, can I add one more thing?
Yeah, last remarks, so sorry.
Okay, because I think something that I didn't say, and maybe if you're looking to work with KOLs, that might be really useful for you. Make sure you brief them properly, prepare a table. How I like to do this, like core narrative, what's the messaging for the people, what I want the people to feel and understand when they read it, and make sure your KOLs actually read it, understand it, and showcase this in their posts so that what they do is in line with your narrative. And if they're not meeting deliverables, like be strict. Don't be scared that they're going to get annoyed with you. Tell them like, I'm going to freeze your vesting because you're not meeting deliverables. usually then they want to cooperate with you, because I know some KOLs are difficult, and like, don't be scared of like defending your business and being like, this is what we agreed for.
I think that was a pretty thorough answer, and I'm so sorry we don't have any time for any questions, but grab us after. Big round of applause for our speakers there, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.